typographical errors in there. My typist, I'm gonna have to talk to him because he's making errors. But at the same time, I gave you this. Now, here is where I would tell the class before you to understand this, those who are the original class. This is not a final copy. So don't go out and say, hey, A, B, and C. This is my draft that I'm giving to you because everybody was trying to write it down. And there's a lot of, you might see where it says the orange, orange, orange. And that, you know, they ain't no orange. We're not talking about a box of tricks. We're talking about the color orange. But you understand this is my draft. Okay, so this is what this is. So you can, if you see the typographical errors, correct them if you will. But that's what that is. But just so that we be on the same page, and you'll see some numbers. And in these numbers, you'll see some things that might have a reference to things. And so what I want to do is to go over those so that you'll have a connection of understanding what those colors are and what they're about. Let's see, the meanings of the colors. Don't worry about it right now. We'll leave it alone. Now, the lesson of the next 2 to 3, maybe 4 sessions is in these 61 pages. And it's already done. I'm doing another study on outside of this one and doing other things and also writing my book that has to be done. But all this is here. All the typographical errors too. But all right. Now, this situation in which we're dealing with, let's see, do I like that? I was trying to cover the board and see if that would look okay for us. Now, the two letters that were taken away from us is the letters that they call A. And in these 2 letters that are called A, we know that they're not A because A also is in reverse in a rotation, the ala wa pa ya. So if you take the letter A and you decided to change it, you'll see that the letter A keeps its form. So we know that. So they're using that as the first principal foundation of their gate to allow assessment of empowerment of energy/spirit. So they can have control over the letters that come forth in the Latin, which we call the English language. It's a bastardized language because they mean it because it has no foundation. It comes from other sources and mainly from the sources where we are. So that's where it's at. I'm sorry? Why was somebody say that? So the 2 letters that we have to spell the name, which is called Aya. And if you notice, there's 3 A's involved in that. And the one that has this is the one that I always put a little dot over, and that would be the Ayin. This is the Allah and the Allah. So the thing is that we have these letters that pronounce the name. And this name is written in the form that is given into the so-called common book, Exodus 3.14. We've already done a study on this where 3.14 is the mathematical and the geometrical sacred mathematics of an equation called pi. They also did a movie they did in black and white, and they had the Shekinah, which was this little Chinese girl that was mentoring this guy, and he got so involved with the overwhelming of the spirit, knowledge, and wisdom, he took a drill and drilled a hole in his head. Those who haven't seen the movie, if you can still get it, you'll see where he drills a hole in his head. The corporate world wants to A, B, and C, all that other stuff. Okay? Okay. All right. Now, where we're going is we're getting ready to understand these gates. Now, these nine gates that I was taking you through, they were in the middle of this study. So where we're going now is where we're getting ready to understand what these gates are. And in these gates of understanding, I want you to know how they have a structure. In my design of this, where I use the divine order instead of the basic common order, in which we all are common to. But I use this artist interpretation and borrow this picture to enhance and bring forth this, so that you'll have a pictorial graphic representation of what these things are. So there I begin to give you a better understanding of what things can be. Now, where we are getting ready to go, we're getting ready to explain a few things. But hear me out, and hear me out well. You will not venture, and what I'll try to do next week is I'm working on, see that big giant poster that's out on the entry door? That is the chart 3.0. That's the third chart. I already have a chart that I'm working on and finalizing, which is chart number 4. And it's basically all the letters look similar to that first page that you see out there on that door. But it represents a higher understanding. And the thing is that that chart is where I will be dealing with other people on. But the one chart that's on the door and other people have, I'll make a copy of Kinko's with black and white on it and give it to you guys. And if you notice something, I gave you a black and white copy as a cover. Individuals, when they're born, what stages they are, and what things are about. And I was looking at, my eyes were looking at scanning where it was like, I think this guy named Dr. Oz on Oprah, and they were talking about giving Viagra to babies. That's what they said. That I didn't go, that was in the next show. And they were talking about, they don't call people who have the dual sex hermaphrodites. Thank you. They call them now intersex. Yes. Yeah, okay, intersex. So that means they were trying to explain that and break that down, but let's not even go into that in totality. But what I'm trying to show you is that this thing about how when you take medicine and you take drugs, it speeds up your system. So they even had a drug at one time, they called it speed, because it sped up your system. The thing is that now we're beginning to get into a structure where we're not just traveling in a slow motion, because we're becoming hooked up into a demonic coupling or situation where we're beginning to see how we are becoming closer and closer in intermingling with demonic beings that are attached to us. And we call them emotions or otherwise personalities. These personalities are demons. They are informed by many to be the personality traits or psychological, emotional conditions. Now, here is where I was beginning to look at the structure and break it down, because I wanted you to see how things are. And I explained on this one how before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born. I separated you for myself. I appointed you to be the Sarayar to the nations. We know this to be